Welcome to everyone. This week video will cover the SP 500 and the gold market. This update will be for the week of November 20th, 2023. Before we start, make sure you read carefully the disclaimer. If you like this video, don't forget to click on the like button, subscribe and click on the bell to make sure you don't miss any future videos. Let's start with the long term on the SP 500. The last SP 500 update was last week. Let's start with the 18-month cycle. The last 18-month cycle low was on October 2022. The next low is expected on the first quarter of 2024. The success rate for the 18-month cycle is 100%. The 40-week cycle. Last week I mentioned there is two different options where to place the 40-week cycle. The first option is the July low is the 40 weeks low. The second option is the low occur on middle of August. This week the SP 500 still trading on his cycle line. If the market cross below his cycle line N, then this will give more credit to the second option. The 20-week cycle. The market still trading on his cycle line and using it as resistance. If this week the market cross sharply above it, this will be the first sign of the first option validity. If next week the market resume his decline, then there is a high probability the second option is valid. In this case, he will also cross below his 40-week cycle line. On September 18th, the market crossed below his cycle line at 44.67 for a potential target at 42.32. On October 27th with a low at 41.03, the market meet the target. The success rate for this cycle is 100%. We are at a very important time for the SP 500. The next few weeks will be crucial to define the next trend. Because the market have to cross one way or another his cycle lines. To see the two different options and their implication, I recommend to watch my last week video update. I posted the link below. 80 days cycle. No matter which option, the October 27th is the 80 days low. The upside target at 44.97 have been met this week, with a high on November 15th at 45.21. The peak for this 80 days cycle is still expected around the first week of December. And the low in the first week of January 2024. The success rate for this cycle is 100%. The 40 days cycle. The next 40 days low is expected on November 30th, the yellow zone on the chart. On November 8th, the market cross above his cycle lines at 43.57 and 43.61 for a potential upside target at 46.11 and 46.20. The success rate for this cycle is 80%. The peak for this cycle was expected around November 15th. On November 15th, the market made a high at 45.21. Is it the 40 days cycle peak? We will have confirmation when the market will cross below his 20 days cycle trend line. The market can still go a little bit higher before crossing this trend line. The 20 days cycle. The last 20 days cycle low occur on November 9th, one day early than expected, with a low at 43.43. The market meet his last upside target at 44.33 on November 15th. The success rate for this cycle is 89.47%. During the next decline, technically the market should cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target for this 20 days cycle low around November 26th. Here the support line and the potential target if the market cross below. When the market will break below the 20 days cycle trend line in green on the chart. This will confirm the 40 days peak is formed or in formation. Then we will watch where the 40 days peak occur compared to the peak of the cycle on the 40 days chart. If the peak has formed on the left side of the cycle, this will be bearish, then the second option is more likely. If it's happened on the right side, then this will be bullish. Let's finish with the 10 days cycle. This 10 days cycle low is expected on November 18th. The next one is scheduled for November 26th. The success rate is 100%. The market this week should cross below his cycle line and provide a downside target. Here the cycle line for this week and the potential targets if the market crossed below it. Now let's see the gold market. The long-term picture, let's start with the 40-week cycle. Since the market crossed above his cycle line in the middle of October, the market trade along his cycle line. The 195.62 target has not been met yet, and a sharp crossing below this cycle line, without meeting the upside target, will, first invalid the target and second, this will be bearish for the market. The 20-week cycle. We have the same situation than the 40-week cycle. The 194.06 target is still valid if the market stay above his cycle line. The 80 days cycle. This 80 days cycle low is scheduled between December 12th and 14th. The target provided by the mid-October crossing is just $1.32 above the October 27th high at 186.36. We can expect this target to be met during the next rally for the 80 days peak. We will watch carefully where the 80 days peak will form and compare it to the peak of the cycle, the red dashed line. For now there is a very high probability this peak will form on the right side of the cycle, telling us the next decline should be moderate. The success rate for this cycle is 57.14%. The 40 days cycle. During the last week video update, I was expecting the low on for November 10th. The low formed on November 13th at 179.71, just 3 days later. The next low is expected on December 14th. Because, according to the Hurst principle of synchronicity, the market are synchronized at their low, this low will form also the 80 days low. Even if in gold, the peaks are sometimes synchronized, but this will be a topic for a new video. If you want more information about the principle of synchronicity, I recommend to watch my introduction to cycles videos. I posted the link below. Actually, the market crossed slightly below his cycle line on November 7th. But the crossing is not very convincing. Because, the next days, the gold market trade along his cycle lines. What's that mean if the market crossed below his cycle line? This could be the first sign of some bearishness coming into the market. At the time of the 40-day cycle low, the market should only find support on his cycle line. For now, do not consider the crossing below the cycle lines as a valid signal. But in the next few days, if the market will keep going down, then the November 7th crossing will be valid, then we will calculate the potential downside target. The success rate is 100%. Because the 40 days cycle low is confirmed, I draw the 40 days trend line, the blue line, from the October low to the 40 days low, November 13th. When the market will cross below this trend line, this will give an important information about the 80 days peak formation. This will mean the 80 days cycle peak is formed or in formation. At that time, on the 80 days cycle chart, we will watch whether this peak has formed, compared to the peak of the cycle. If there is a left time translation, then we can expect a sharp correction. If there is right time translation, we can expect a moderate correction. The 20 days cycle. In the last week update, I mentioned the next 20 days cycle low is expected between November 8th and 9th. The low was on November 13th, 4 days later than the time target. The next one is expected on November 29th. On Thursday, the market crossed above his cycle line at 183.50 for a potential target at 188. After forming the next peak, the market will cross below his cycle line, providing a downside target. Depending where the crossing will occur, but the cycle lines could be between 183 and 181. The success rate for this cycle is 91.67%. The 10 days cycle. On November 15th, the market crossed above his cycle line at 181.58 for an upside target at 183.91. The next day, with a high at 184.32, the market met his target. In the next few days, the market should find support on his cycle line around the November 21st. The success rate is 85.71%. In conclusion, in SP 500 and gold market, the short term is in corrective phase. This is the end of this week video. Thank you for following me. Next week, I will publish another market update.